Canada just put up the biggest scoreline in CONCACAF World Cup history. 6 goals, a hat trick, a red card storm that left their opponents down to 9 men. And then, in the middle of the celebration, a player's leg snapped on live television. This is the full story of what happened in Vancouver. The record-breaking scoreline, the chaos, and the moment that turned a perfect night into something nobody at BC Place will forget. Let's set the scene first, because you need to understand what was actually on the line here. Canada walked into this World Cup as co-hosts with modest expectations. They drew their opener against Bosnia and Herzegovina, a result that was fine, but nothing special. No Canadian fan was talking about history after that game. Qatar, on the other side, had also drawn their opener against Switzerland, so, on paper, this was a coin flip of a match between two teams trying to find their footing. Within 16 minutes, that idea was already dead. Ismael Kone, the same player who scored Canada's only goal in their opener, put Canada ahead. Then it got worse for Qatar, fast. Jonathan David scored in the 29th minute, then again right before halftime. By the break, Canada led 3-0, and Qatar looked like a team that had no idea how to stop the bleeding. But here's where this match stopped being just a football story and started becoming something else entirely. In the 33rd minute, Qatar's Homam Ahmed was sent off for a challenge on Canadian winger Tajon Buchanan. 10 men. Then, in the 51st minute, everything changed again, and not for the better. Asim Madibo went in late on a tackle from behind on Canadian midfielder Ismael Kone. Kone went down immediately, and you could tell from the reaction of the players around him that this was not a normal injury. Canada's captain Steven Eustáquio was one of the first to reach him, and he said afterward that he saw the leg and that something was not right. Photos from the pitch later showed Kone's lower left leg visibly broken. He was stretchered off, given an air cast, and rushed to a Vancouver hospital where he went into surgery that same night, surrounded by his family, including his mother. Think about the timing for a second. Kone had turned 24 years old just 2 days before this match. He immigrated to Montreal with his mother when he was 7 years old, learned the game on Canadian fields in brutal winters, and fought his way into being one of this national team's most important players. 42 caps, an X-factor midfielder his coach did not think they could replace. And on the night his country won its first ever World Cup match, his tournament ended on a stretcher. Canada's coach, Jesse Marsh, didn't hide how the team felt in the moment. Everybody was crushed when it happened, but we had to find a way to stay focused, he said. We knew that Ismael wanted us to finish the job. After the game, visibly shaken, Marsh confirmed Kone would need surgery and that he was heading straight to the hospital to see him. And Jonathan David, the same player who just scored a hat trick on the best night of his international career, wasn't interested in celebrating the tackle that caused it. His reaction was blunt. If there's a play where you cannot win the ball, there's no point, it's just to hurt people. Madibo was sent off immediately for the challenge. That meant Qatar were now down to 9 men in the 51st minute, already trailing 3-0, having just broken the leg of one of Canada's best players. What happened next tells you everything about how this match had completely unraveled for Qatar. Canada's captain Eustáquio later described Qatar's bench reacting angrily to the red card, trying to argue the decision, when the far bigger story on the pitch was a young man being carried off with a shattered leg. I don't understand the reaction from their entire bench to try to start a fight about it being a red card when a clear foul just happened that broke a player's leg, Eustáquio said. Strange behavior, but in the end, we were more focused on Ismael. Less than 10 minutes after Kone left the pitch, his replacement, Nathan Saliba, scored Canada's 4th goal and immediately pulled up Kone's jersey in tribute, holding it up to the crowd. It was one of those moments that's hard to describe in words, a team that had just lost a key player to a horrific injury, still finding a way to honor him in real time on the same field, minutes later. From there, Canada simply kept piling on. Nathan Saliba's goal made it 4. An own goal from Qatar's Mohamed Manai made it 5 in the 75th minute. And Jonathan David, already with a hat trick, added a stoppage time goal in the 4th minute of added time to make the final score an almost unthinkable 6 NIL. The numbers by the end of the match were brutal. Canada had 65% possession and 33 total shots on goal. Qatar managed 2 shots all match. This wasn't a game that slipped away late, it was one-sided practically from the moment Qatar went down to 10 men, and it became a complete rout once they were down to 9. This is now the biggest win by a CONCACAF team in the history of men's World Cup matches. Canada, a nation that didn't even qualify for a World Cup between 1986 and 2022, just put up a result that's going straight into the record books. And somebody important was watching it happen live. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney was in the stands, sitting right next to FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Carney had missed Canada's opener because he was at the G7 summit in France, so this was the first time he had watched his own country play at their own World Cup. Hell of a night to finally show up. So with all of that, the record, the chaos, the injury, here's where the group actually stands. Canada now has 4 points from 2 matches and is sitting at the top of Group B, on the verge of locking up a spot in the knockout rounds for the first time under this tournament's expanded format. In the other Group B match today, Switzerland beat Bosnia and Herzegovina 4-1, which means every team in this group has now won at least once. Group B has officially become the most unpredictable group of the entire tournament. Elsewhere today, Mexico beat South Korea 1-0 to stay perfect in Group A, while Czechia and South Africa played out a 1-apiece draw that keeps South Africa's hopes alive but leaves Czechia needing a big result in their final match just to survive. But if we're honest, none of those other results are what people are going to be talking about tonight. They're going to be talking about Jonathan David's hat trick. They're going to be talking about Canada's name in the record books. And they're going to be talking about a 24-year-old midfielder who went from celebrating his birthday to lying in a Vancouver hospital bed in the span of 1 match on the night his country finally won. That's the part that's going to stick. Not the 6 goals, not the 9 men. A team got the biggest win of its World Cup history, and the moment everyone will actually remember from that night is a stretcher, an air cast, and a mother sitting in a hospital room while her son went into surgery. We will be following Kone's recovery as updates come in. For now, subscribe, because if today is anything to go by, this tournament has no intention of slowing down.